Welcome back, Tribe. We have the part 2 to this episode from a few days ago. Let's get into it.
We brought up something earlier about men. Do you think men and women have equal basic value, like equal dignity?
What do you mean by dignity?
They have the same intrinsic goodness. Men and women are equal in their basic value, their goodness as human beings.
Like I think that, because it depends, right? It depends how, I think that men do more good in society than women. And I'm assuming that's like the tweet you're talking about. But
no, I'm asking because earlier I said men and women are equal and you denied that. And I said, I agree that men and women are unequal in many ways. But surely, like, for example, do white and black people have equal dignity?
Yeah, sure. Do
men and women have equal dignity?
Sure.
Okay, good. That's really good to hear. All right. So you say marriage is a bad deal for men. For a marriage that does so, because a majority of marriages do not end in divorce. For the marriages, at least let's say this, for the marriages that don't end in divorce, are those bad deals for men?
If the wife gained a significant amount of weight, I would say bad deal. Most men don't want a fat wife, I would say. If the wife cheats, I would say bad deal. Most men don't want a cheating wife. Mm-hmm. If they're in a sexless marriage, I would say bad deal. Most men want, I think most men, if you said, hey guys, do you want to get married? Your wife isn't going to sleep with you after you have 2 children. They would say, oh, hell no.
What?
Oh, hell no.
Pearl, what would be the best? Let's say a man says, I would like a long-term sexual relationship with a woman.
Okay.
What would you say is the best relationship kind for him to obtain that?
What do you mean by best?
With the rules in place in the West, the laws, it's a long-term casual sex encounter. Friends with benefits, not a live-in girlfriend. No cohabitation, just someone that you see consistently. They're chasing their goals and their dreams in their life. You're chasing your goals, your dreams in your life. You meet each other only to please each other's needs. In the West, under the current rules of the United States government, for example, with cohabitation laws, with no-fault divorce, that is your best option as a man. Marriage is not incentivized for men in the United States. Marriage is only incentivized for women. If women break a marriage, they get alimony, they get assets, and they get the kids. It's great to get married if you're a woman. And by the way, she does all these things not because it's the 1920s and she can't get a job and no one will hire her because she's a woman and a stay-at-home wife and all that stuff. Not the 1950s housewife stuff. She has her own job, making her own money, and you're still getting screwed by the court system as a man. That's why it's a raw deal. And that's just the law. We're not even talking about the value of a woman to be a wife today. Cooking, cleaning, serving her husband, family-oriented, kid-oriented. Bro, it's insane. You can't sell me on marriage in the West today.
If a guy says to you, Pearl, I would like a long-term sexual relationship with a woman, what kind of relationship should I pursue? Marriage, cohabitation, dating? Which would be the best strategy?
It depends on the state you're in, because some states have different states have different laws.
Just in general. Would you say?
Well, there's no general no general answer because it would depend on the state.
Why would it? Because what you're saying is that
for example,
let me finish because I get to interrupt now, and that's where it gets fun.
Go ahead.
Because what you're saying is, it's not. Even though the majority of marriages don't end in divorce, you still say those are a bad deal because women gain weight, even though men gain weight also. But
what about the men though?
Do men in long-term cohabiting relationships, do those women gain weight?
Not as much, but the difference is it's easier to get out of. So if a woman gains weight, it's much easier to break up with a girlfriend than it is a wife.
Okay.
So you're able to have higher standards.
How much weight can a woman gain in marriage before you consider her unmarriageable?
Depends on the guy. I think it's unfair more than like 20 pounds, 15 pounds.
20. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You got to think, women are smaller in frame. 15, 20 pounds, you change dramatically. For a guy, if you're thinking he's like 6 foot tall, 15, 20 pounds can get hidden very well. For a woman that's like, say, 5'4", 15, 20 pounds, like she can go from 120 to 140. Big difference, man. I've had friends that are dating women that started off, say, 130 pounds and have ballooned as high as 180 pounds. What do you think happened to that relationship? Sex dried up. The love dried up. The arguments started, the fighting. can't stand being around each other. And eventually it destroyed the relationship. And you know what happens afterwards? All of a sudden, starting to go to the gym, all of a sudden starting to look better, starting to eat cleaner. Why weren't you doing that to maintain your relationship? No one ever answers honestly. I let myself go because I got comfortable and I didn't appreciate my partner and I thought I could do better anyways. And I didn't actually care how they felt. And I knew they wouldn't leave me because I had them wrapped around my finger, yada, yada, yada. And then you get left and then you get this shock reaction from everybody. He's an asshole. He left her just because she gained weight, but not all the emotional abuse he was dealing with during the entire time. The emotional manipulation. Mm-hmm.
What are you doing, ladies? Get on the treadmill.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, I think it's okay, and I think it's good for women. I think it is good for women if men have standards.
But according to that Gordon Larson study, cohabiting women gain. What was it?
The studies I've seen, it's 18,
less. Less, but I've
seen around 10. I've seen 10.
That's the study you're citing for 24 pounds gain. They gain 18 pounds in marriage. People, the problem is, if you're saying that it's a bad deal for men to be in a relationship where women gain weight, and if women gain weight in all relationships.
Here's something simple. If you get with a man because he earns good money, you expect him to earn good money. When he stops earning good money, you stop wanting to be with that man. You give him an allotted time to start earning good money again, or else you're going to leave him. Cool story, sis. Men do the same thing. He got with you because you're beautiful, or he thinks you're beautiful, and he wants you to look beautiful. And when you stop looking as beautiful, he's going to want to stop being with you too. So your job is to keep looking beautiful as you're aging gracefully. Keep looking beautiful, and he will keep making money. And that's the covert contract. You signed it when you got together. Uphold it.
Aren't you really just saying women are a bad deal for men, not marriage?
No. I'm saying that women, the difference is in a long-term relationship, you can say you need to change or I'm going to go. And women tend to act better when men have standards.
Okay. Do you agree that married men rate themselves? Do married men live longer than unmarried men?
Yeah, probably.
Okay, so that's
because I think women tend to pick healthier men.
Okay.
I mean, I'm a woman. We want, I mean, why do you think women are throwing themselves at these like NBA player? We want the good genes.
Are most men who get married not NBA players?
No, but you can see when you look at the men that women are throwing themselves at, you can see what women select for.
Okay. So, but you would agree, though, that even if that is correct, even if it's...
And that's something I'll give Pearl a big plus on. I never really thought about that angle, that most of the men that get selected for marriage anyways, although we make fun of them being beta bobs and all that stuff, it's still better than the men that don't get selected for marriage, that don't get any women whatsoever, because those guys' genes or those guys' health predisposition or mental health may be so messed up that they off-put women. Women naturally like feel this. They can sense it in a guy. So imagine, dude, like, let me paint a picture for you, like the fat, balding, nasty, unshaven gamer that fucking plays like 10, 15 hours a day, just disgusting looking. Like that guy will never have a shot, right? So what's his health outlook? Does he live longer than the guy that's actively courting or dating a woman that's thinking to himself, oh, I want to impress her. I want her to like me. I'll go work out. I'll go eat cleaner. I'll go do all this stuff, right? So women are selecting a higher tier men to marry than what's at the bottom rungs of society. So how tainted are all these stats that we use when we say married men versus unmarried men? Like if you found unmarried men, but those were the top percentile bachelors, the ones that are living the same lifestyle, like how we were saying in the last episode, what would the statistics look like for those guys when selected primarily for marriage material men that decided to stay single versus men that got married? And what are those looking like in comparison? I would be so interested in a stat breakdown like that.
Correct that women choose men who are happier and healthier. If a man chooses to get married, then that would seem that he is or has made himself to be a happy, healthy individual.
Yeah,
right?
If he gets successfully marries. Can you say the question?
If a man successfully marries a woman, does that mean he has become a happy and healthy individual?
Not because of the marriage, but he was probably selected because he was that type of person.
So he's made himself into that kind of a person. He's disciplined himself. He's, made himself at least somewhat successful, happy and healthy. Okay, good. So he becomes that.
I wouldn't attribute it to marriage, though.
But
I would attribute it to I think men are going to do what they're going to do. They're on a mission.
On average, though, does marriage take that away from men, their happiness and their health?
No.
I would say yes. I would say there are more men in
No, because it's been if we go by Pearl's earlier logic, marriage can't take away because a man has been selected that's already happy and all that. Now, the marriages that do go south may take a man's happiness and stuff away. But of those marriage statistics, how many of those guys were marks? Remember the beta bobs that get settled for? When a man is truly experienced, knows what he wants, decides to get married, his marriage is most of the time successful. Most of the time. You got to understand our marriage statistics are so skewed because there's a lot of spineless simps. And just men in general, spineless, didn't grow up without a father, don't know anything about masculinity, have no experience with women. They meet a woman later on in life, maybe their last year of college, where he gets picked out by some woman because he's got a good job, a good degree. He kept his head down. He's not the party boy Chad and Tyrone that was pumping and dumping her at sorority parties. And he's the mark. He's the get out of jail free card for her. There's a lot of men that get selected like that. And so that's why our marriage statistics are also so messed up. Guys think they're the luckiest man in the world. And then they're actually being predated on by some of these women. They're easy marks. So a bunch of those marriages are the ones that failed. I've seen this dynamic myself when I was doing remodeling and construction. There's two types of couples. There's the real man's man, alpha male type. The dude handles his business. He's running a few companies. He leads all the interactions. His wife just nods and agrees. He gets her input and then makes the final decision. She's happy, feminine, submissive, fit, friendly, all the things, all the qualities we look for, right? That guy has selected a good mate and she follows his lead and respects him. And then and by the way, these are both rich couples. Think multimillionaires in mansions. And then you have the beta bob I told you about, the uglier, shorter, maybe balding, a little fat out of shape. Doesn't have to be shorter, maybe skinny, nerd. He's got the nerd bifocals, and his wife, dude, is the masculine energy. She's making all this decisions. She's leading all our interactions. She's deciding what everything that needs to get done. And all he does is nod his head and go, yes, baby. Yes, 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 yes. That's it. He's a walking wallet and a doormat. And the energy between them, the little thing, if he just does a little thing, I remember like something like asking me a question and just maybe it sounded dumb in her mind, snaps at him. Don't ask such a ridiculous question. Blah, 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 blah. Like always chirping in his ear, dude, just nagging him and beating him down and just an emotional punching bag. The dynamic between these two people, and they're both multi-millionaires. And these two couples couldn't be further apart in how their dynamics in regards to each other are. That's when I knew money doesn't even matter on any of this shit, dude. It's the interpersonal dynamics, your relationship with your woman directly and how she sees you. Were you selected as the simp or did you select her as a potential good feminine woman that will submit to you? Unfortunately, because of just the dynamics of having that thing in between your legs that women have, they're the ones selecting. And a lot of men are just forced to choose between my hand or this one chick that's here now. Ta-da, marriage statistics.
Happy marriages than happy. Out of the original 100 that got married.
Do you have a
so okay, if you take the I'm answering the question.
Go ahead, sure.
You want
That's fine.
So, you know, the study you're talking about 35%, I've heard that's a bit dishonest. I've heard it's more 50%, 45% of marriages end in divorce. The last one was from 2023. I know it was a little off because of COVID, but I think if you include sexless marriages, women that belittle their husband, that's really common. Women that make fun of their husbands in public.
Then you're taking it away from my main point. So you're claiming that these happy, healthy men who get married, the majority of them, they lose their happiness. Do you have a study that shows that? Because let me finish. Okay. I have cited the General Social Survey, Gallup surveys, hundreds of thousands of people who are tracked, Harvard Adult Study, 80 years, that married men rate themselves as happier and healthier. And the majority of them do.
But you're attributing that to marriage.
I'm not. I'm just saying, what I'm saying is that even if marriage is negative in some ways, it doesn't take that away from them. You're making the claim that the majority of married men aren't happy, but you have no study to back that up. I'm
saying that you can back it up when you look at 40%. Let's say 40% of marriages end in divorce. Okay, 40%. Now you have 6 left. A quarter of them are sexless. Boom, that's over 50.
That's not true. A quarter are not.
There you go.
Are,
Women on average,
okay.
And then on average, so at least half of the women gain 25
right. I'm going to ask you another question. I'm going to ask you another question again. So we do surveys,
okay,
and we ask people if they're happy. And I've cited multiple studies, okay, where hundreds of thousands of married men are asked if they are happy.
Okay.
And the majority, 80% to 90%, say yes. Can you cite a study that shows that the majority of men in marriage say they're not happy?
Well, you're saying in marriage. I'm including divorced.
Sure. That's
my point. But my original statement, was...
and I'm going to interrupt because it's my turn. My original question was, for marriage, since the majority of marriages don't end in divorce, and if divorce is the only bad thing, then marriage is a good deal. Setting that aside, you cannot show that married men are unhappy. You have no data for that.
But I also added in, I said if a woman gains weight, that's a bad deal. If a woman cheats, that's a bad deal.
Do the men say it's not worth it? But do the men say it's not worth it to them? And they leave?
You asked what I would classify as a successful marriage. Or I made the premise.
The debate is not whether Pearl thinks marriage is a bad deal.
You said I could make the premise.
Yeah. But
I said a good deal is classified as a woman that stays in shape, F's her husband, and stays married and is obedient. Okay. So if she's not having sex with her husband and she's gaining weight,
who should determine?
That's 60%. At least half of them are doing that.
Who should we?
She has a point. How many men you have to wonder are in sexless relationships, sexless marriages? Excuse me. Man, there's quite a bit. After the kids come, it's a problem for a lot of people. They don't understand that keeping your partner happy is how you keep your family happy, which keeps your family stable, which is great for your kids. You have to put your spouse first. Your woman or your man, in this particular case, your woman needs to understand that you come first in her life, not the kids. The moment you put the kids first and neglect the husband, don't be surprised that the husband cheats because you're in a sexless relationship. You're just roommates. You sometimes don't even sleep in the same bed. You haven't touched your wife in months. You're not catering to your partner's needs. And this will be the end of your relationship.
We look to determine the standard of whether marriage is a good... Let me finish. Whether marriage is a good deal. Married men or Pearl Davis?
I think you should look at men and what they're choosing, and they're not choosing marriage. Because if it was a good deal, it would be an easy sell. Good products get sold.
Is exercise
good products?
Is exercise a good deal? Or is exercising a good deal?
Exercising is a good deal, but
most people sign up for it?
I wouldn't say those are the same thing. Because again, if women were benefiting men, like they were 100 years ago, if we look at 100 years ago, men signed up for marriage within 3 months. That's all it took.
All right, here's my next question. Here's my next question. If marriage is so bad, including people who end in divorce.
I didn't say all marriage is bad.
Okay. If in general marriage,
I said out of 151,
if it's more likely, if it's greater than not, that marriage, it will be bad. And if that's the case, why do 65% of divorced men get married again, even though they've already been through a marriage that's failed? If it's so bad, Pearl, why do the majority of men get married again?
Well, I would say, people don't always make logical decisions when it comes to love. But my question would go back to, why aren't men signing up in general?
Okay, so anybody who just did.
I think speaking as a man, you would rather meet a single woman that you like instead of playing the field. It's nice to have a partner that's always there for you, waking up in the morning, making you eggs, spending your time together, someone on a consistent basis, than it is to sludge through dating apps, go through constant dates on dinners and coffees and have a variation of the same conversation and have your mask on and can't show this person who you are, show them a little bit. Can you trust them? That entire process of dating is way more stressful on the man, costs way more money than it does to have a consistent woman in your life that actually cares about you. So most men, when they go through the dating process, it's temporary. They meet another woman like that, and then they are, yes, dumb enough because of love to get married again. But it's off the back of that need to want to care, to protect, and to provide for somebody you really want in your life, someone you love in your life. So that's why the men, unfortunately, are stupid, making this leap of getting married 2 times, 3 times, all this stuff. Some guys just don't want to go through the dating scene like that, or they're quick to fall in love. And There are people out there that are more monogamous minded or single person minded, long-term dating. Maybe the people that got divorced don't want to have anything to do with the whole dating pool and the pumping and dumping and all that. So when they meet and talk to one person, they take it serious. And for them, serious means of moving in and having a, committed monogamous relationship. And then marriage follows right after that. I mean, that's some people's mentalities. That's how you could easily explain why guys are getting married multiple times over.
Disagrees with your standard of marriage. They're just being illogical.
No.
Okay.
I said a good deal. I clarified it in the beginning. I said good deal, doesn't gain weight, sleeps with their husband, stays married. I think that's the bare minimum.
Why can't this be a good deal for marriage if a married man says that he's happy?
Because I don't think that I think happiness studies, like how do they measure it?
Happiness isn't a state of mind. You can't be happy all the time because different things are happening to you and you respond with different emotions: anger, sadness, joy, happy, blah, insecurity, fear. It doesn't matter. You can't just be happy all the time. Happiness is something you experience momentarily, circumstantial. Okay. You can build up your life to have more of these momentary experiences. So you can classify yourself as having a lot of happy moments in your life. Great. More than the sad ones. Excellent. You're doing well. That still doesn't sell. You can't say, well, happiness is a selling point to marriage. I can attain happiness without marriage. What is it specifically about signing the contract? And what could that woman give me after signing the contract that I cannot get anywhere else? The only thing you get from the state is a tax reduction, and that doesn't offset the risk. Their real argument isn't an argument. It's like steel man for me, the tax break you get of getting married. How is the tax break I'm getting going to benefit me so much that it's worth all the other risk? That's the only logical argument you could possibly have here, because that's all marriage gives a man, is a tax break.
You literally ask the person if they're happy.
Yeah, people lie.
Okay, so it's just a giant conspiracy.
It's not a conspiracy.
Okay. So do you think most men who are married are unhappy?
I think most men that sign up for marriage out of the original, not stay married, that sign up for marriage, 51 are unhappy with that original deal. And we can agree at least 40% divorce, right?
Yeah, there's a 40%,
okay.
But
so what percent of men rate themselves as happy?
You don't get to ask that the questions. Fine. I get to ask them. And as I said before, just because a marriage ends in divorce, it doesn't mean that person now thinks that marriage is a bad deal, since the majority of men who get divorced choose to go back and get married anyways. I want to go back to some of the different.
Why don't the majority of men sign up for marriage?
You don't get to ask. I'm going to go back here.
Because if it was such a good deal, they'd sign up.
Yeah, well,
good products get sold. Right. You think Elon Musk is running out of his cars. Okay. When they first came out anyways. I don't know about now, but I heard that truck was bad.
All right. Let's see here.
Smaller, they're at a lower rate.
I guess I'll start asking these questions. Do men have a lot of STDs?
A smaller, they're at a lower rate than women.
How do you know that?
You can Google it, CDC.
Okay. But still, do the majority of men have STDs who are unmarried, sexually active?
Well, if they're sexually active, but the minority, this is the thing. You guys don't know what's going on because you guys have been out of the game so long. The number one way that people are meeting is dating apps. Women swipe right 5, 10, up to 20% of the time. What does that mean?
Okay.
A minority of men can even sleep around. Okay. So when you guys are saying men stop sleeping around, a minority of men even get the choice to do that.
Do men cheat?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So if a man cheats and he leaves his wife to be with another woman, is it fair that he should have to compensate her by paying for things like child support now that he's abandoned her?
Of course. That's logical.
Is he going to be
That's logical. If he went out of his marriage and cheated, that's logical. Let's be real here. This is kind of a gotcha moment that he's trying to catch her in, but we'll see.
Active father?
If a man,
it's one thing. So
I'm going to ask the question again. If a man is married to a woman, they have 3 kids, and he says, wow, I'd like to be married to this other lady instead that I had an affair with. And he abandons his wife and children, and his wife has been raising these kids, and now they're on their own.
Yes. And we go back on the whole thing. You could have 3 kids. Maybe she stopped giving you sex. Don't be surprised that he stepped out of the relationship. How did it end in the first place? But yes, you stepped out of the relationship. And again, Pearl's point. This is why marriage is a bad deal, because we ended up in a sexless relationship. I stepped out of the marriage, and now I'm going to pay with the consequences of child support and alimony. Yeah, in that situation, it's a shit sandwich, but that's the reality. You got to take care of your kids. The problem wasn't the kids. The problem was you and your wife. And unfortunately, you signed the contract, big dog. So alimony, you're on the hook for it. And you were adulterous. So yeah, you're going to pay the price. Does it suck that your wife didn't want to have sex with you anymore because you had 3 kids and she got caught up in the whole being a mother thing? Yeah, it does. That's why men need to be extremely careful who they get down on one knee for. All your actions have consequences. And you have to understand this in life. It is always your fault. No matter what happens, they will always blame you.
Isn't it just that he should compensate them for putting them in that position by paying child support?
How many kids? How old?
Let's say 3 kids, 3, 6, and 9.
3, 6, and 9. And he completely abandoned them, not even...
So he tells the wife, you can have full custody of the kids. I want to go and get remarried. Shouldn't he have to support them since he was an awful person and abandoned them and put them in this position?
You know what? Sorry. No, I don't believe in child support. I don't believe in alimony. I think it's equal. Women have fought. We have fought for equality. Okay. Wait, we have fought for equality. We got it. So now you get a job like everyone else. It's a sad situation, but overwhelmingly, men aren't the ones doing that. Women, there are far more deadbeat moms than deadbeat dads.
Do you think...
I think that the person who earns more should get the kids by default. I believe Romania has a system set up like that. And alimony should be limited to just a couple years after marriage because everybody works now. Maybe a year or 2 max that you get to collect to get back on your feet if you haven't worked for a few decades. That's it. It doesn't take longer than 2 years to find a job. It doesn't take longer than a year to find a job. And you know the divorce was coming. It's not like it hit you out of the blue and now the countdown started 365 days. You knew it was coming. You're going through the court proceedings. The paperwork was finalized, signed, dotted, notarized. You should have already been looking for work and planning your life without this person months before any of that started rolling down the hill. So once you institute those 2 changes, I guarantee you either the marriage rates fall off a cliff, but the divorce rates will fall off a cliff too. People will be thinking twice about leaving their spouses. We shouldn't be rewarding bad behavior like leaving men and starting single parent households. Sorry.
You simp for men.
No.
So you don't call it simping for men and saying that that if a woman does something bad, she should have to pay consequences for it. But if a man, I'm going to finish. Okay. If a man abandons his family because he wants to screw some other lady and puts them into poverty, you're saying he shouldn't have to spend a dime on that.
Yeah,
why?
Equality, baby, because women abandon their families all the time and they're not punished, they're rewarded. So I say equal rights, equal lefts. You guys fought for equality, here it is.
Then isn't the answer, shouldn't the answer be that instead of saying both men and women should be allowed to be awful people, shouldn't we say men and women should both be held to higher standards?
I would say, I don't, it depends what you mean by higher standards, but what I would say is I don't think we should have child support. I don't think we should have alimony. I think it's wrong.
Even if a man he just leaves, his wife has been a stay-at-home mom for 10 years, 3 kids. She has been out.
Yeah, but that's rare. See, he's using the extreme examples of like she was a good woman, devoted, stay at home, gave her youth, didn't work the entire time, raised a family, and this guy was a piece of shit and he just cheated and left. Like he's always using the extreme examples. And first of all, what's the percentage of married people that get to have the income high enough to sustain a stay-at-home mother full time? We're in the dink era. Dual income, no kids. And most of the time, it'll always be dual income to even have a kid. So you're talking about a small percentile of marriages, bro, that you're comparing yourself to. It takes 2 people working to feed each other now and even have a decent life. This guy is a freaking toad. What in the world? What are some of the comments saying? Dude cannot find criticism of women without bringing it back to men, even when it's the very few men. Yeah, I think I read that one last time. Let's go down to the bottom more. He's probably the stronger out of him and his boyfriend. This is sad. He's spouting all the modern fembot whataboutisms verbatim. It really is. Is this the guy like the DHS is recommending that you go to instead of, say, my content or anybody else? I have a feeling it's these kinds of guys that are coming on the scene. I don't even know who this is and why he's getting a debate with her. But it's blowing my mind that the mainstream, like how disconnected could you possibly be? This is giving me like Daily Wire vibes, sitting around all cringe with cigars in your mouth. When you're the dudes, all of you used to get stuffed in trash cans. You've never had success with women outside of getting married, and you got married so fast. And now you're all like, I'm happy in my marriage. And you've never seen your wife have an orgasm. Like, get out of here, dude. And hasn't been in the game even to see what dating apps and what social media has done to relationships and intimacy. Like, this is wild, dude. I'm listening to old farts try to tell me why marriage is a positive thing to have in the West with the laws and the current mentality modern women have. Absolutely fucking not. Get a passport. Get out of here. Find your traditional, friendly, fit, feminine woman that will love you for just being a man, wants you to lead the family, expects you to take control in leadership, wants kids. The only thing in her life is she wants kids, and takes joy from serving her husband. It makes her happy to please you and wants to start a big family and wants to invite you and integrate into yours as well. Man, this is wild. These dudes are so lost. This is the guy that's like mostly part of the divorce statistics. This is why they make marriage look so bad. You can't sell it for shit. Unreal. What do you guys think? Am I going a little too hard on this? Are there any redeeming qualities? Does the religious crowd have a say? Are tax breaks enough? Is a certain income level for a man a point at which this will make sense for him? I don't know. You tell me in the West. We'll see you guys on the next one.